Okay, everybody, this is the Baron Von Video Livecast, where we talk about science fiction, filmmaking, and once in a while, the philosophy of fun, because filmmaking is nothing but fun. Well, it's not all fun, but you get the gist. So I'm really jazzed about tonight because got a local filmmaker aspiring to do bigger and better things. And before I bring him in, I'm going to show a trailer for his film, Peccadillo. And then I'll bring him in and we'll start talking about how it started and what we wound up with. Okay, so here's the trailer.
I loved my wife. I still do. Why do I have this feeling that her killer's still out there? It's all in the details. Why can't I remember his face? Every day she slips a little farther away. And I can't do anything about it. Why don't they ever tell the truth?
You know scumbags like them. They don't admit to anything.
I can make you pay the price.
All right. Yeah. So here he is, the writer, director, and editor of Peccadillo, Anthony. What is it? Richard Wolfgang Lopez is the. What's the R for?
Hey, Baron. The R is for restricted. No. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm absolutely thrilled. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I've been wanting to talk about this one for a while. I've had you on a couple times talk about science fiction, but and this is not science fiction, but do you have kind of a basic description? I'm going to be showing a scene from Peccadillo in a little bit, but what's the how would you describe this short that you made?
It's a very good question.
You were supposed to be prepared.
So Peccadillo is a neo-noir crime thriller. It's about a man who is obsessed with finding his wife's killer. And without spoiling too much, there are some things that unfold that cause our main hero to unravel and kind of lose his way a little bit. And until you get to the point where you're just kind of like, you're not really sure anymore, who's good, who's bad, who is, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's like I said, I don't want to spoil too much for people who haven't seen it. But the one criticism I will say that I typically get from this movie after people have watched it is, what the hell did I just watch? Like,
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was gonna add the descriptor of a mystery, because it's a mystery thriller too.
For sure.
And I did have the same reaction. I wasn't entirely sure, who did what to who, kind of a thing, without spoiling anything. And did you do that on purpose? Wanted to keep it a little ambiguous?
Yeah, for sure. Like, so let me go back to the beginning, I guess.
Yeah. How did this thing strike you, and what was the initial inspiration for this?
Yeah, so this was an idea I had pretty early on in my career. So I had just started my business, Cross Beyond, And this was a script that I wanted to do shortly after that. So I had written it, let's see, about 2011 or 2012, and then just kind of shelved it after I started my business, Cross Beyond, because I was doing mainly commercials and weddings. And so I was trying to pay the bills. So I was, doing all this like stuff that I didn't really want to do, right? But I needed to do. And then in the back of my head, I just had this idea, which I always kind of had as peccadillo, right? Like I was always fascinated by that word. And I know it's a word that like may need a definition for people, but essentially it means a small sin or small wrongdoing. It's almost like a little nothing, right? Like it's like, no big deal type of thing. And I thought that was always kind of ironic because obviously the movie is about a very big sin. And there's a lot of different sins in the movie actually that aren't small. So it's like that irony of like, I always liked that word because it's a very sort of like peccadillo. I don't know. It just has a nice ring to it. And then I wanted to create like a story that would kind of serve that purpose. Like, and so I wrote this little thing. It was just like, okay, if I'm going to do a short film, I need at least 3 key scenes, right? And something that's going to get the audience, grab the audience, and kind of not let them go for like 15 or 20 minutes. The script I ended up with, I think, was like a 10 or 11 page script. And then the movie ended up being about 20 minutes, just because there's a lot of stuff that we, like when you're on set, you're filming various things, you're getting things you didn't think about, that kind of thing. And I think really made the movie a lot richer than it was. But anyway, I shelved that for a few years. And it wasn't until I met a group of independent filmmakers in Colorado Springs. So this was in Colorado when I was creating my business. And it was the Peak Film Forum. And a guy called Ralph Giordano, who may or may not be watching right now, was really fascinated. He was just fascinated with everyone's projects. He was a great guy to get to know. He was a really big supporter of all the indie filmmakers in the area, getting people together, doing screenings, just, having an overall enthusiasm and support for just a lot of young people, a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't be able to get any funding or any exposure or anything like that, right? So I meet him. Immediately we hit it off. Like I start going to these functions and going to screenings, meeting other filmmakers, and I tell him, hey, I've got this script that I've been working on. Let me give it another polish. Let me rewrite it and see what you think. And then he took it and I think immediately loved it because he was just very excited about it. And, he gave me some pointers and, I took some of his feedback and kind of updated the script. And that's kind of how that started. And then meanwhile, I was friends with another filmmaker. His name is Carlo. He was the DP, the director of photography for the film. And I've always been friends with him. So I was kind of like, we were working on Cross Beyond stuff and I would hire him for various things like weddings and different things. And, but he always wanted to DP a movie, right? And so he was one of the first people I talked to after I was really starting to gear up to like, hey, this is my next project. And talking to Ralph and Carlo and everybody sort of getting excited about that kind of started that process. And I would say that was in December of 2015 when we hit the ground running, so to speak, and really sort of fast tracked it. And I think it was like maybe a month or two later, January, February of 2016, where we really started getting into pre-production, developing the story, thinking about cast, thinking about crew, thinking about sets, and all that kind of stuff kind of just came together. And we shot for 2 days. It was the quickest shoot I've ever been on. And we had to do it that way because everyone was working. Like we weren't, getting paid for this. It was essentially Sherry, my wife, was another producer. She was the unit production manager. She and I funded it along with Ralph, giving a little bit of support for, you know, catering and all that kind of stuff, because we wanted to make sure we had everyone fed and everyone happy. And he, of course, provided, you know, facilities for rehearsal. We had an official table read. I mean, he was like top notch. He was the guy who got me really great actors as well. So again, just having Ralph's connections, I think, helped make this movie what it is. Then after meeting kind of the right people is what sort of got me to eventually make the film. And then, like I said, within 6 months, we had the shoot, we had, you know, an edit, and then we had the premiere shortly after that. And the rest is history, I guess.
Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. No,
No
I was just going to say, I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but Imperfect Pairs, my short film was also pretty much 6 months from start to finish.
Oh, really? Okay. See?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, it's always fun. I remember thinking at that time, I think I always project, so I'm sure people were fine with it, but I was always worried that the crew were like worried I was dragging my feet or something, or like, oh, okay, but like I said, I'm a huge proponent of just being prepared. So I had all this like a pre-production, I think, is for me probably the most important part of it, because without that, right, we can't do anything. Like, we'll have no budget, we don't have a schedule, we don't have, right? So there's like, we need to know, we don't have call sheets, all this kind of stuff, right? It looks like we have a question.
Yeah.
From
You just started briefly. Somebody you know wants to know.
Familiar. But anyway, just to continue on that point, yeah, it seems to be because, like I said, for the shoot itself, that's obviously the most expensive part, and so we want to get that done as quickly as possible. And for this shoot in particular, we just had a very small window. We had to shoot on a Saturday and a Sunday because that was the time we had off, right? And we had to make sure to get it done. And so there was just a lot of prep work and making sure that Carlo and I were on the same page. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, if I can say this, like, I don't know because I haven't been on many sets, but of the sets that I've been on in my career, it's probably the best set I've ever been on. I can't say that there was a hitch. I can't say that there was a problem. I can't say that there was, because it went so well. It was just a well-oiled machine. Everybody was on point. Everyone was there where they needed to be. The actors were fantastic. But to answer the question, I guess we can talk about that. Lily is my daughter. She's 17 now, by the way. Just had her birthday on July 17th, so happy birthday. And she asks, how did I acquire the budget for this film?
I think she might be angling for something from you. I don't know. I know, man.
Right? Like, oh, no, she's great. She's a great actress as well. She's in high school right now. Obviously, she's been doing a lot of plays and musicals, and she's a fantastic dancer. She's been a ballet dancer since she was little. And she's great. But so it was, like I said, it was a very, I would say, no budget film, because we didn't do any funding. This was a time before, maybe not before Kickstarter, but it was something that I didn't really think of. And Ralph, having the support of Ralph and having the support of Sherry, my wife, who was the unit production manager, was just phenomenal, because they were both so chill, and they were like, hey, don't worry about it. We'll get everything taken care of. You just worry about the story. You worry about the actors. We'll worry about the budget. So I was kind of like, all right, cool. I mean, Sherry's great with money, and Ralph was like, he was sort of like the magic man who was able to get me everything I needed. So I was like, all right, cool. Don't need to do any of that then. So, but yeah, I guess the long and short of it is we basically just used what money we had. We were both working odd jobs. I was working several jobs. I remember the most fun one I had at that time was working as a Pizza Hut driver. And I'm not sure I told anybody about this at the time, but that's what I was doing, and it was fun. Got really good tips. But yeah, a lot of that money just sort of rolled into the production. And sometimes it's better to just kind of work with what you have and figure out, like, okay, what is within my budget that I can afford. And other times, like kind of what Baron and I are trying to do, and the rest of the sci-fi sojourn group here in Beaumont, is to get some funding for some films so that we can actually produce something a little bit. What? Oh,
yeah, just a little budget. We just did a little budget.
Just a little bit, yeah, just a little bit, because, well, as you know, sci-fi films are a little bit more, visually demanding if we want them to be, good. I wish we had. This is the one thing I do regret when I rewatch the movie. I'm like, oh man, we never got a direct like shot of that wound.
Yeah.
So we only ever see it in photos and stuff like that, but you'll see if you ever get a chance.
Actually, this is a good opportunity to bring up some of your production photos behind the scenes, and there is a shot of her working on the actor. So I
this
take
was
this was how close to shooting was this?
I want to say this was in April.
So about a month-ish before?
Yeah, I want to say it was about a month or so, or maybe even a couple of weeks, because this was actually, we did the table read and then we did the rehearsal on the same day. And this was an example of, again, Ralph. So you'll see Ralph here. So this is Ralph in the back there on his computer on the top left, and then you've got Matt Block, who played Ethan. Then you've got Amira, and then of course you got me just staring at my iPad. But yeah, this was an example of just Ralph pulling through with like getting us this location to do the table read and also have the audition, or not the audition, but the rehearsal. Yeah. And just a lot of fun. And then you'll see, there's Gary on the right and Shale on the left there. It was a lot of fun. And there is the first day of production. So we've got, from left to right, we got Gary Nuger in the back there. We've got Ralph Giordano. We've got Carlo, the DP. You got me there talking to Matt, who is being blocked by Carlo. And next to me there, behind me, is Dan. He was the boom operator and the sound designer. He's really great. And then last but not least, we have Greg Farinelli, who was the AD, and phenomenal AD. God, like all these people, just seeing this again is like, this is great. But anyway, so I should talk about that a little bit. All the sets are real. So we did no stage or studio shooting, and this was all our house. We had a nice, really big house on a cul-de-sac at this time. But that first shot that was down in the basement, that's Harold's apartment, was our basement. This scene right here with Carlo, me, and Gary was, of course, the kitchen, the dining room scene. That's our kitchen, dining room at the time. They did this lighting that was phenomenal. This it was complete. It was sunny. It was complete daylight outside, but they made this look like a nighttime raining scene. Just by having that spotlight come in with the blinds and that fantastic noir lighting. So that was used a lot throughout the movie, which I think was great. Just that kind of like harsh, that lighting that we had, and God, it was good. Oh yeah, and then this was a motel room that they allowed us. I'm trying to remember if it was one of the big chains. It was like Motel 6 or something, but I remember going around town and trying to figure out who would let us use one of their rooms for shooting. And then, of course, we were like, okay, this is not a porno, so don't worry about that. This is a legit film that is going to be shown to, you know, people of all stripes. So yeah, and that was kind of interesting to secure that, but they allowed me to shoot for one night only. I just had to pay for the room. And so we ended up, when we were done shooting, the actors ended up staying there for the night. So it was kind of cool. And that was my camera that we were using, by the way, which is a Nikon D5100, which I still have to this day, that I still use for video and for photography. It's a great little DSLR camera. It does 1080, so nothing fancy. Doesn't do any 4K or 8K. But I still use it, and it's great. You know, shaky cam. Like, I don't like shaky stuff necessarily, unless it's like created to, you know, evoke some kind of feeling. But I liked sort of having that immediacy of, yeah, just a little bit of that, like a little bit floaty, right? Like, and I remember you actually mentioned after you had seen it that it felt dreamlike to you, which I was like, I never really thought of that. Like, I didn't really take it that far, but I like that it kind of evoked that kind of feeling for you. So, but yeah, he was great. But he was sitting in the chair. So we gave him the chair so he could sort of be his own tripod. And it was, but yeah, I always said that if we ever did anything again, I would have everything on tripod, so that you wouldn't suffer too much again. But yeah, and there we have Liz. So she's working on the bullet wound. Yeah.
It's really a good thing you can't see who it is.
I know. Yeah. I know. I was about to say it. Collaborating with Carlo. I mean, Carlo is one of my oldest friends, and we knew each other kind of before we even did Peccadillo. And we always talked back and forth about, like, oh yeah, you know, we always help each other on each other's films if we ever get a chance to make them. And I know he was writing a lot, and he wanted to direct some stuff as well. And he's done a few things since Peccadillo, of course. But it was just fun because he really took it seriously. He had an app that, you know, I forget what it was called, but it was it helped him like figure out like framing and like aspect ratios and like what lens to use and what, you know, for each specific shot. And I did have a shot list created as well. I think I did some storyboards, but I'm not a huge storyboarder. I like to kind of, I mean, it's all in my head. I don't know if this is how it works for you, but like usually when I'm writing, I see it all in my head. So it's kind of like all there. And for me to create, like, I usually like having a shot list so that at least everyone on set is like able to see like, oh, okay, this is how many shots we have today. This is how many setups we have to do. So people are aware of that. But generally, unless it's a really big, you know, intricate scene or something, or there's a lot of camera movement or like a single shot, you know, move or something, then I probably don't usually, you know, I won't storyboard it.
Well, let's after seeing all the behind the scenes stuff, let's take a look at one of the scenes from your fine short, sir. Shall we watch it? Let's watch it.
Get your popcorn ready.
Ethan.
Hey, Bill.
How's everything going? Haven't heard from you in a while.
Good. Things are kind of crazy lately. Murderers, rapists, bombings.
Amen to that, man. Heard about some vigilante shit, too. What's this about, Ethan?
How long have you been doing this?
Longer than I care to admit.
Yeah. Well, you've always been there for me. You're a good friend.
You're like family to me. I want to do everything I can for family. You know I'm always here for you.
Thanks, Bill. Why don't they ever tell the truth?
What?
You know, when I go to take care of them, I expect that they'll confess and admit what they did to Wendy.
Well, you know scumbags like them. They don't admit to anything.
I thought I knew. I need that confession. I need closure.
You got closure.
This time we got the guy.
I wish I could believe that.
Come on. We've been through this before. Everything points to this being the guy.
Details. It's all in the details. Why can't I remember his face?
Got hit in the head pretty hard that night. It's not your fault.
Yeah, but this is my wife's killer. This isn't some small thing. How can I not know who did this?
But I know, Ethan. It was Harold. End of story. It was Harold. End of story. It was Harold. End of story.
Why do I have the feeling that her killer's still out there?
Look, take some time off. Go somewhere. Obsession's a bad thing.
I'm not obsessed.
Listen, man, I gotta go.
Bill, wait. Let's have dinner tomorrow. Talk about old times, not this stuff.
You name the time and place, I'm there.
Tomorrow. My place.
Sounds good, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. See you at 7.
7 it is.
Yeah, man. Yep. Yeah, I love those couple of shots with him and Wendy there, just kind of coming out of the blue. Yeah, it
Right.
man, it's like that shit just got real.
Yeah. Yeah, and that whole the phone conversation with Gary was always in the script, but it was funny because the reverse shots, like the reaction shots from Gary, weren't originally going to be there. It was something that my producer Ralph actually thought of. He was like, let's just shoot his side of it, and then what if we create these crazy like lighting scenarios? So it's like it's all in Ethan's head as he's talking to Gary, or the Bill character, sorry. And he's sort of like imagining like what he's doing and how he's looking as he's talking to him, right? Because at this point he is suspecting him, and he's kind of losing his grip on who the actual killer is and that kind of thing. So it creates this, yeah. And then by the end of it, you're just like so creeped out. Like I remember people thinking like, oh my God, like it was just like, but Gary did such a phenomenal job. Like he was such a trooper. Like just like, looks like we have another question. Oh God,
We got another question.
I know this person too. Hi, Jeff.
Well, given it was a hotel and it was in your house and somebody else's basement, is that basically the?
Yeah, well, no. So yeah, it was actually very easy because as I mentioned earlier, we didn't have to get any permits or permission for anything except for the motel. So I did have a motel, but I didn't have anything in writing, so I didn't have to get anything. Like all I had to do was pay them for a night, and no questions asked. Like, okay, whatever you're gonna do in that room, sure. And then the other set or sets locations that we had were all locations in our house at the time. So we just used, like I said, for Harold's basement we had, or for Harold's apartment it was our basement, and then for the kitchen scene, the dining scene was our actual dining room, and then let's see what else, and then the bedroom scene between Ethan and Wendy was Sherry and I's actual bedroom. So yeah, pretty straightforward. You know, I got to wake up in the morning, roll out of bed, and start shooting, basically. So it wasn't a huge. Wasn't a huge.
Did you
That
start
was kind of perfect? Like,
did you start doing this with your wife while she was in there?
right.
Yeah.
Like, let's frame this up. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a story that I was compelled to tell. Two of my favorite movies are Memento and Following. And I think knowing that now and kind of seeing the trailer and seeing the scene that you've all seen will hopefully kind of make it kind of click for you. Like, oh, yeah. Okay, he's going for crazy mind screwery. And I like that kind of film. That's my personal preference. I love also when you get sort of not to give too much away, but I like having reversals in movies, meaning, a twist, right? Like expecting something, like you're going one way, and then all of a sudden, left turn here, and you're suddenly on a different path. So I love that aspect of a movie. And to me, a movie should be something that you're watching not knowing where you're going, right? Like you're along for the ride. Like I would hate it, not hate it, but when I'm sitting there watching a movie where I know where it's going to go, if it's entertaining, I'll let it take me, right? If it's not, then it just sucks. Then it's like, oh, it's predictable and it's dumb. So, and I usually kind of steer away from those types of movies, but there's those rare movies that come and, kind of force you to ask questions. Like you just kind of are dropped into this scenario and what is happening? Well, the movie's going to tell you if you sit there and continue watching it, right? Like, hopefully, anyway. And I realized that I know you've seen Peccadillo, but whoever has not seen the film yet, like I said, I don't want to spoil, but people always have questions. And, the thing that I have to remember sometimes is that the movie, all the answers are in my head. So I know exactly why this character did this, what the backstory is, why another character did this or that. I know the scenarios. I know what they did before. I know what they're doing after. I know what they did in between, all the things that we're not seeing. And so it's easy for me to fill those in. And sometimes I do. I will admit that I do get carried away with too much of the mind screwery. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it PG-13. And that's not to say Christopher Nolan is like my favorite director or anything like that. I just happen to love his first two movies. I mean, are I think great. And what he went on to do later, I mean, I haven't really watched any of his recent stuff, but I also love The Prestige is another one. And I know you and I were talking about that for the science fiction stuff. It's just, yeah, it's chef's kiss. And then of course, Inception is another one that I love. So who knows? Maybe, at some point in the future, we'll be at the point where we will make big budget science fiction films that can compete with Inception and The Prestige. You got to start somewhere, right? And that was one of the things about Following that always stuck with me, is that Christopher Nolan at that time, it was also a no budget movie. He got friends and family to work on it. And I think they shot it on 16 millimeter film, black and white, which was sort of like the cheapest stock they could get at that time, which is why it's the 16 millimeter. And they shot it on weekends whenever people weren't working. So that's why when you watch the movie, a lot of the times the main character, his hair is different all of a sudden because he got a haircut or whatever. But I like the way they do that, the way it's cut and edited to kind of show the progression of time and like how people are just kind of changing throughout. It's definitely not a linear film, and I kind of like that as well. So yeah, I would say those are my two influences for Peccadillo. Of course, I love, and we've talked about this before, but I love, the big, big budget tentpole movies. I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm Star Trek, all that good stuff, right? Like of course I'm into that, right? But for me, the real, like, for at least the type of filmmaker that I am, it's really those littler films, the more indie kind of under the radar kind of films that stick with me. And honestly, recently, and my wife will probably think this is funny, but recently, so one of my favorite filmmakers recently is Robert Eggers, and we've talked about this as well. So he's directed, most recently Nosferatu, but he also did The Lighthouse, and The Witch is one of my favorite all-time horror movies. But The Lighthouse, talk about mind screw, right? Like, that movie is insane. But the really funny part was, I thought it was hilarious. Like,
Parts, yeah.
Yeah, like, it was so funny. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. And my wife thinks I'm crazy because of it, but
if you like dark humor,
it was like a wild ride for me. And I was like, this, because I think so much of it was like so far so extreme that I was like, there was nothing I could do except laugh. But
well, hey, Jeff wants to know what movies do you want to make in the future? Is there? Yeah, this is a question I was thinking of too. I mean, beyond Reverie, as like a next step.
Well, we can talk about that.
Is there? Do you have like an idea for either another short or even a feature? I mean, I don't know if all writer, director, editors are like this or not, but all the writer, director, editors I know, and it's not a bunch, we all have a feature film that we really want to do. Yeah, exactly. Do you have something like that?
I do. I mean, I have several. I mean, I've been working on I've been working on this so long. It's not even funny. I would say, so my first feature script I wrote was straight out of college. I graduated in 2007 and had a feature done by 2008. So that's still sitting, and that's actually gone through so many iterations. It's been through maybe like 20 drafts or something at this point. I'm also fascinated by the things I don't know much about and want to learn more about. And so I'm always doing research to find, what characters I want to gravitate towards and that kind of thing. But just to talk about Reverie for a second. So Reverie is a short film that I had written shortly after a tragedy in my life. So this was back in 2017. I had an idea to do something involving death and being able to recall someone based on a memory. And so I started thinking about, originally it was going to be sort of like this ghost story where the main character is being visited by his sister's ghost. But then I started to turn it into, once I met, the science fiction group here, the film group, I adapted that into a science fiction story. But anyway, Reverie is essentially about a man who is trying to come to terms with a tragic loss in his life. And so having that science fiction backdrop, I think, really helped me figure out the story, which I was very thankful for. And you've all read it now, or I should say the group has read it now. And it was very encouraged to, I was very encouraged to greenlight it and go ahead with it.
Right. Yeah. I think there are ways that both of the next short films we want to do could be done for much less, but it would take some arm twisting, and which, I'm not crazy about doing if there's any way to avoid it. But I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it.
I know. You've been working on it. And this is hopefully helping. Part of what we're trying to do, Baron mostly, is to kind of get the word out and interview people like me and talking with various other science fiction nerds and filmmakers and trying to get the word out, which I really appreciate and I love.
I've been thinking about this. It's almost like we need another term other than independent filmmaker, because that runs the gamut from zero budget to spending 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sure you've probably seen some of these short films that actually have a very decent budget, but
Right.
it's still considered an independent film.
Right.
So I was coming with this idea that maybe there should be a new term, and I like the term homegrown filmmaker. Right? Don't have like connections, don't have just have a passion for storytelling,
right?
And, specifically cinematic storytelling.
Right.
And we figure out how to get it done by hook or by crook,
Right.
But I think these days your idea about getting some interest beforehand to help spur either crowdfunding or somebody's going to see it and go, yeah, I'd really like to help that person make that story happen.
At least I'll always have peccadillo, which is great. So
nah, you ain't done by a long shot, brother.
Well, thank you for your encouragement. I appreciate it.
No, and I'll have you back to talk about all kinds of things, and maybe more specifically about because I'm always interested in the process and how different artists go through their process and what spurs them, and where do your ideas come from, the whole thing. I find it all very, very interesting. So I'll definitely have you on again, and but I really appreciate you being on this live cast, man.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to go do Picadillo. I tell you what, when I do the recap, I'll make sure to put the link to your short film on there, so anybody watching on YouTube going forward can find it and watch it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, check it out. It's currently on my YouTube at Cross Beyond, and then you can also watch it on my website, crossbeyondproductions.com.
Yeah, is your YouTube channel just Cross Beyond, or is it Cross Beyond Productions?
No, it's just Cross Beyond. Yeah.
Cross Beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should check him out. He's got some other stuff up in there too. Yeah. All right, dude.
All right,
thanks again, and we'll have you on again real soon, man.
All right. Thanks.
Keep working on those films. I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, man.
Bye.